there is Amanda here from Lolli Lulu Crafts with a little update on my Lolli's Lodge. I had a little tiny shift about. I know that it's only just been completed, but actually I was just a little bit unhappy with a couple of bits. Well, it was one thing and that led on to a little ripple effect that affected other things that I was minorly not liking and was able to correct because of that. So what I did was I really felt that the embellishments section where I showed you in these cubes was a little bit tight. I wasn't so much worried about it being sort of full, because I quite like that, as so much as things like some of the metal embellishments, as one example, were in different locations and I didn't really like that so much. So what I have done is I actually empty out there's a few bits there where I was sorting, but those two white cubes at the bottom, you may recall, had paper kits in. And when we were doing the paper video, I said to you that I had two big plastic boxes in the house still that I hadn't brought out here that have my hunky-dory kits and collections. I didn't want them out here because I kind of know what they are and they're not something that I need to have out in the lodge. I can grab a kit. It's all sort of, each kit is in its own wallet, so it's very easy to grab whichever one I want and to select it out of the box. So it seemed a waste of space to put it out here. And when I was saying that to you guys, I suddenly realised that actually I still had two boxes or two cubes out here, or boxes or baskets as I call them, out here that had collections in. They weren't hunky-dory, but they were out here nonetheless. So I thought, well, if I emptied those out, I would have two free boxes which I could then spread out my embellishments and my miscellaneous stuff. So what I've done is I emptied those two white boxes, and I'm sorry about those bits on the floor, it's where I was sorting it. Those two now have my envelopes, white envelopes, and then underneath, I can't get to that now because of that stuff there, but it has my coloured envelopes. And then here is my white cards, and underneath that is my other cards. So I've got the four cubes there with the cards and envelopes. So instead of it being the four blue ones, turquoise ones, it's those two. So I then was able to fiddle around with this, because obviously I then, instead of having the two white ones empty, I had two turquoise ones empty. So I wasn't happy with the miscellaneous and embellishments, as I said, but I also wasn't happy with my embossing folders and dies being there and also up there. No. So what I've got in here instead now is I've got two of those Cropper Hopper plastic 12x12 paper holders, and in that I've put my embossing folders and those large dies. So my large die wallets are here, I've got a few embossing folders there, and then next door is all my embossing folders, so that's in there. Then next door to that, this was the little tiny 6x6 paper holder that was on that shelf, so I've literally just lifted that down and popped it in there. Then I've got one of these, it's easier to show you in here because it's a bit dark, one of those, and I just popped it in to the bottom here, and that's got all the dies that were loose. So those are my Sizzix dies, these dies in those lovely wallets that I had. Sorry it's a bit dark, but it's actually because the sun's out and it's making the camera react to bring it down darker because it's really bright. So I know it's contrary, but it does that, unfortunately. And then at the side here I've just put that wallet, the one that was really annoying me and I didn't know where to put it because I just didn't have a space that seemed to work, and that's all my stencils. So I think that works a lot better. It's next to the dies and embossing folders, so it kind of makes sense. So I'm happy with that. So obviously that then left this empty and that space empty. Now that space I really didn't want to fill anyway, because as I said to you, I'm still doing my stamps, and if I had that full with dies, I didn't have any space really. Once I put the rest of them in, I really needed a little space so that if I did get any more stamps, I had somewhere to put them. So that's really good. So when I've done the rest of my stamps, I won't fill it, but it will just give me that bit of extra room. And then in here, I had a box that had all my hunky-dory sentiments in, and it was really annoying me because they were flying everywhere, but also I couldn't see the individual kind of collections because there was sort of different styles. So what I've done is I've taken sort of the different types and I've put them in these plastic wallets, as I've done with a lot of things, and then just popped them into this folder and popped it on the top shelf. I think that makes more sense because it's with papers. It's actually with hunky-dory as it happens, so I think that really works. I don't think it mattered, but it was just a nice coincidence. I'll relabel that. I haven't even done that yet because I've literally, as you saw, it's still on the floor. I've literally just finished sorting that last bit. And so that is that, and I think that works a bit better. So I was warned by a couple of you that you will keep tinkering with this for a while, so don't be surprised, but I'm hoping that this is sort of the main bit done now, and it's pretty much how I like it. Now I know it's a bit dark, but the next thing that I did do is, this wasn't out here before, so I had to find somewhere. I suddenly realised I had my big dies and I have them in these two Tim Holtz boxes, and I was trying to think where I could put them because I don't use them very often, and but I do use them, so I wanted to bring them out here, and they're very convenient in these boxes. So I thought, originally I was thinking maybe they'd go in one of the cubes, but then because I moved that stuff across that you've just seen, that really wasn't going to work, and they actually are really quite big and heavy to go in there. And I suddenly realised, well, this is die cutting, and so why not put them in here, sit my Cricut machine on top. After all, it's a waste of the space not to have it, you know, fully used, so it's perfectly fine for it to sit on top. And actually what it's done is made it look neater, I think, because before it had the little packets showing that had the wires, whereas now I don't know if you can see, but they're just down the side there. They're the wallets that I use for my paper, etc., or the, both A4 and A5 in there, and they've basically got the wires for my Cricut machine and my Silhouette machine. So they were sitting at the back behind my Cricut, and they kind of flopped forward because there wasn't really anything much holding them. So I don't know if you've seen these, but they're pretty cool, and they literally, you just sit your dies in there. Now I've left quite a few of them in the packaging because it has the design on it, but then all I do is just chop the top off and file it to make sure it's not sharp, so that I can still just lift the die out easily without having to unpack it all the time. And then the other one is the longer big dies and a couple of the smaller ones there. And then at the back here is the thin small ones, and then this little thing comes with it, and then I just put some of those little tiny ones in. I don't really use those very much, but they were quite handy in there. And now you can see the wallets, I think. So you can see why that would kind of look untidy, even though it actually isn't. So I quite like it just being behind those like that. So that's that. So the bottom drawer, as before, has got the flowers in it. This drawer, as before, has got the embellishments like beads and pearls, etc. But from that I've removed things like the metal embellishments and wooden embellishments because they didn't need to be in there, and that's just given there a bit more space. So what it's really doing is not that I didn't like it being full, but I didn't like that there was no room to grow and that it was so full without that ability to add more. So then we've got the two blue boxes. So we've moved into there all my sort of colour cloud and texture paste boxes. So here it's just literally piled them up as we did before, and there will be another box on top, I'm sure, because I've got some chalk cloud coming, so I should probably put that in another box on top here, and we've got the space to do it, which is good. And then down the side here, or in the middle here rather, we've got my pastels and chalk, and also my jelly board thing, and then just at the end here we've got my gilding wax in here, and then my little pixie powders and my coloured PVA glues. So that's in that, and you can see it looks a lot, it's still full, but it's just giving me a little bit more room to grow. And the boxes, I've got space to add another one, which is what I wanted to be able to have the space to do. And you may be wondering where my misters are, but I will show you that in a minute. Then this top one, we have got, I was going to say metal, but I think it's really like sort of materials, natural type materials like metal, wood, glass, and then felt, so sort of wool basically. So in the top here I've got just the lid of one of those plastic boxes, because these don't fit with the lid closed. So it's my glitter kissed and my gilding polish. So those are going to just sit on the top in that box. Really nice and easy to see and get to. And then underneath I've just got a variety of different little boxes and some wallets. So at the back here I've got my wallets with my felt in, and then I've got some metal frames and metal embellishments here, all different metal ones in that big box of metal embellishments. And then at the back here we've got wood, so all my little wood embellishments, and then under that some little metal frames, just really putting together the jigsaw puzzle. Then I've got my metal, so my foiling I should say, and then my glass beads for making stick pins, etc. Then flakes, metal flakes, and then my bits that I use for things like, you know, to do stuff, so magnets and rings and wobblers, etc. And then in the corner just a box again with just metal embellishments and glass as well. So that's all in there, and again, when you see it put back, you can see there's still plenty of room to grow and add more, which is really the section that I really felt that I needed that space more than any. So that is those. But as I said, you're probably wondering what I did with my misters, and just try not to make you sick. I moved some of the spice jars because they had the metal in, and I was able to relocate those, and also I had a couple of spaces down the side on the end of the desk which I could add some to, so it allowed me to have 6 removed out of this basket. Now I haven't got very many of the misters in there yet, but I know I've got some in that box for the haul that I spoke about, that I've got a video to make for you on. And so when I've added those in, I mean, you can see, look, already it looks like you're going to get a heck of a lot in there. So it's surprising, and I just think that actually for the amount of misters I'm likely to have, then that will be plenty of space, and it might give me room for something else if I wanted to, but on the whole I should probably keep it for that. And again, it just gives me some room to grow and add to them if I suspect. At the moment obviously they're not got them all in anyway, but that's where they'll go. So I think those few little bits of moving around, actually it just linked well, because by emptying those 2 boxes down the bottom, and again I apologise for the mess at the bottom there, I will be clearing that, but by emptying that allowed me to move my envelopes and stuff across, which then gave me those boxes free to move my dies and my miscellaneous and embellishments around, to give that a lot more space and to make more space up here as well, and just generally I think just make that area just a little better. I feel a lot more like that works for me. So I hope you found that of interest, and I don't intend on doing any more sort of major sort of movement on this, but if I do I will update you. But at the moment, as far as I'm concerned, that is probably it. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this additional video, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.